Yo, what is up, guys? I'm currently waiting very patiently for game 3 of Halaban versus Shisis, Thunder versus Pacers. And I figured I'd do a quick video on something that comes up a lot. I get this question a lot. If you had to start over from scratch, you had $0, you'd never bet on sports, how would you do it, right? Like, what exactly would you do if you had to start all over? And obviously there's a progression, right? When I graduated from college, I took my first job. I didn't have money, I didn't bet on sports, and then I started to do it as a side hustle after researching it. Then I started to bet on sports full time. And long story short, now I create a bunch of sports betting content, which I find very fun. So if you have other, content ideas, video ideas, things you want to see me talk about, please comment them below. I love making sports betting content. I'm always looking for new ideas. But the point of this video is to talk about if you're just starting to bet on sports, how should you do it if you're starting from scratch? And the first thing is pretty obvious. I've said this in other videos, but I think you need at least a few $1,000s to start taking your sports betting seriously, right? Like when I started sports betting personally, I saved up $5,000 from work. I spread it across a few different sports books. And I really think if you're trying to do this seriously as a side hustle, again, I get the point. Yeah, anybody can turn $1 into $1 million with a crazy parlay, but that's not the point of this video, right? Anybody can win a scratch-off lottery ticket from 7-Eleven. The point of this video is to take this seriously, have it be a serious side hustle. I think you need at least, a few $1,000s, as I've said in other videos. And the main reason is the easiest money you are literally ever going to make sports betting is from sign-up bonuses. All of these sports books, they know 97% of sports bettors lose money long-term. So as a marketing cost, they run lucrative sign-up bonuses, right? So for example, on BetMGM, they have a $1,500 insured bet. What that means is your first bet, if you place it for $5, $1,000, $100, $1,500, up to $1,500, if you lose that bet, they give you your money back. So if you wanted to, I've talked about this in other videos, you can take this BetMGM sign-up bonus and literally just hedge it to convert it into like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, $700 risk-free profit if you use the proper strategy. So obviously, to take full advantage of this promo, you need at least $1,500. It is a horrible idea to sign up for BetMGM if you are only gonna put in $100 because you're not even maximizing the most profitable, easiest promo, easiest money you're ever gonna make on BetMGM, which is the sign-up bonus. So if I was starting from scratch, I had $0 in my bank account, whatever, I would get a job, I would save up at least a few $1,000s, sure, depending on the state you're in, what books you have available, maybe only $2,000, but something, over $100, at least a couple thousand I would save up so I could maximize these sign-up bonuses. So that's my first piece of advice is, you want to take full advantage of these promos. Make sure you have at least a few $1,000. Whatever you have to do to get a few $1,000s in savings, do it. So again, after saving up a few $1,000s, the first thing I do is maximize sign-up bonuses. In Virginia alone, there's over 20 sports books, and I show my friends, my sister, my family all the time. I actually just made a video on this exactly with my sister. We didn't even sign up for every sports book also, but if you signed up, you could do this in a weekend. Anybody could, right? If you sign up for every sports book in Virginia and complete the sign-up bonus in a mathematically optimal way, you would make over $5,000 profit risk-free. This is risk-free profit, right? Like you could do this and guarantee yourself $5,000. If you have any questions about that, you can comment it below because anybody can do this, make $5,000 and then show their mom, their dad, their sister, whatever. Even people who don't want to bet on sports, I have a lot of friends who do not want to gamble. I still show them, if we have a boys weekend or something, how to take these sportsbook sign-up bonuses and just guarantee themselves $5,000 in profit. So Again, Virginia is a pretty good state for sports betting. It's not the best state. There are some states that are better in terms of the amount of sports books and the sign-up bonuses available. But long story short, like obviously this is a little specific to Virginia, but I'll kind of show you with just 2 sports books. Let's say you're in a cash crunch. All you want to do is make a few $100s risk-free. Well, there's a sports book called Rebet, which is, by the way, available in nearly every state. They have an 100% deposit match up to $100. So whatever your first deposit is, they will match up to $100. So if you put $50 in your account, they'll give you another $50 for free. You'll have $100. But obviously, you want to take full advantage, put $100 in your account, then there's $200, right? They give you $100 for free, and all you have to do is play through that initial $100, right? One time, and then you could withdraw the money and never place another bet on Rebet again. So I can kind of show you very briefly how you could just take 2 sportsbook sign-up bonuses and guarantee a profit. So let me give you a super simple example of how you can take these sportsbook sign-up bonuses and convert them into risk-free profit. So on Rebet, it's an 100% deposit match up to $100. So let's just say you put in $950. Again, they're only matching your first deposit up to $100. So if you put in $950 on your first deposit, you're gonna have $1,050 in your account, right? They're giving you a free $100. So the way Novig works, if I go back here to Novig, is they give you a free $5 plus a 10% discount on your first purchase up to $100. So what that means is if you put in, right, if you put in $900, they give you $100 for free, right? They're giving you 10% discount. So if you want $1,000 in your account, they give you a 10% discount. You only have to deposit $900. And then they also give you a free $5. So basically, if I deposit a total of $1,850, I'm gonna be up already, right? I'm gonna have, if I put $950 into Rebet, I have $1,050 in my account. If I put $900 into Novig, they give me a free $5 plus a free $100. I have $1,005 in my account off a total deposit of $1,850. So what you can do is this is called the OddsJam low hold tool. It just shows you the best spots for hedging. What you can do, it shows you the best places where you can, essentially convert these deposit matches into risk-free profit without losing much money. So what this calculator tells me is if I pull it up, again, to withdraw your money and get the sign-up bonus, all you have to do is play through your initial deposit one time. So on Rebet, I'd have to bet the $100 they give me for free. It's not like you can put $950 into Rebet. There's now $1,050 in your account and just withdraw it. You have to play through that $100 bonus they give you at least once. So what you could do is basically just follow this calculator and hedge, right? You can bet the Pacers on Novig, the Thunder on Rebet. You're gonna lose $22 by hedging, but again, you're getting $205 for free, right? You're getting $205 for free based on these sign-up bonuses. Novig is giving you 105, Rebet's giving you 100. So you're gonna end up 183.05 in profit if you just kind of go through the math just by hedging. Now, some of these sports books have more complicated sign-up bonuses. Rebet, Novig are relatively simple, but some of them, like if I go here on BetMGM, Hard Rock, like these offers are a little more confusing. But again, I've covered in countless YouTube videos, basically every sportsbook sign-up offer, how to maximize it and turn it into risk-free profit. So if you have questions, just comment them below. And another thing I wanted to mention as well is, again, Obviously, you don't have to take these sign-up bonuses, hedge them against each other to make a risk-free profit, right? I mean, literally, I could do this in 5 minutes. Anyone on the street, I could show, sign them up for $2 in 5 minutes, place this hedge bet. By the end of the game in just, 5 hours when the Pacers game ends, they'll be up 183.05 risk-free profit. They can withdraw that money from their account, never bet on sports again. It's a lot of money, right? For literally just clicking a few buttons. So this is the first thing I would do, is every sportsbook sign-up bonus I would convert in a risk-free way. Because I don't have a massive bankroll, I wouldn't want to take a ton of risk, right? Like I wouldn't necessarily want to put $900 into Novig, get the 105 for free, and then just, place it on a profitable bet, which is called a positive EV bet. Because again, my bankroll isn't that big. What I want to do first is just grow my bankroll via risk-free strategies. If I'm putting in $5,000 total, let's say, to all these different sports books, that's my starting bankroll. I don't really want variance. I want to increase my bankroll from $5,000 to $10,000 with these sign-up bonuses risk-free. So I have more money I can spread across these sports books to take advantage of profitable bets and start using profitable betting strategies like arbitrage and positive EV. So again, first thing I'd do, save up $5,000. Then I would complete the sign-up bonuses. In Virginia, I would take my bankroll from $5,000 to $10,000 just off of these sign-up bonuses. So what would I do next? Well, the first thing I would do is I would take the $10,000 that I now have and I would evenly distribute it across every sports book in Virginia, right? So there's tons of different books in Virginia: BetMGM, FanDuel, DraftKings, Fanatics, Bet365. We never know, as sports bettors, all of these sports books set their own unique odds. We never know, which book is going to have the best value, the most profitable bets, whether positive EV or arbitrage on a given day. So I would take my $10,000 bankroll and, distribute it across a bunch of different online sports books like BetRivers, Bet365. And then I would start arbitrage betting. Okay, so arbitrage is a risk-free sports betting strategy. I recommend every sports bettor starts with arbitrage. It's very simple. A lot of people overcomplicate it. Arbitrage is when two sportsbooks have such different odds that you can hedge, bet equal and opposite outcomes on two books to guarantee a risk-free profit. So in the previous video, I actually showed my sister and I arbitrage betting. I was teaching her arbitrage, and we hit this arbitrage bet between FanDuel and DraftKings for $175 risk-free profit. We bet the Thunder team total over on DraftKings, the under on FanDuel. Because the two books had such different prices, such different odds, my sister was making $175 risk-free. So I would start out with arbitrage betting. You'll see tons of people talking about arbitrage on social media. It's an extremely lucrative, profitable strategy. And again, it's a good way to grow your bankroll with no risk. Because once I have a $10,000 bankroll, what I really want to do is increase that to $20,000, $25,000. So all I would do at first is just arbitrage bet. That's it. Nothing else, until I at least doubled my bankroll from $10,000 to $20,000. Okay, so obviously I've done tons of tutorial videos on arbitrage that kind of get into the nitty gritty. Which books are most profitable for arbitrage? How do you avoid limits? All these different things. But again, this is by far the best strategy for new sports bettors to start with, because you will see every single day you're making money. You'll have an all green calendar every single day you're winning. And most importantly, you'll start to love sports betting. When I graduated from college, I started sports betting. I did the sign-up bonuses. This is exactly what I did. I completed the sign-up bonuses in a mathematically optimal way, and then I started arbitrage betting. It was like a video game. Every day I would get home from work and I would try to bet as many arbitrage opportunities as possible. Some of them only made $5 risk-free profit, others $3, some $100. You never know what your betting limits are gonna be and how out of sync the sports books are gonna be. But long story short, that's how I did it personally. I didn't even start positive EV betting until I made like $40,000 or $50,000 with arbitrage. I didn't even do another strategy. All I did was arbitrage because, again, what's better than making risk-free money? Absolutely nothing. After that, I would start layering in sportsbook promos, sportsbook bonuses. So we talked about sportsbook sign-up bonuses, how sportsbooks, they do this to market themselves, but some of these promos are really lucrative. Like from the sportsbook's perspective, most sportsbooks make an average of $2,000 per player per year. Most sports bettors suck at sports betting, right? So if someone signs up for FanDuel or BetMGM, on average, they're making thousands and thousands of dollars a year off that person as long as they keep playing, which is why sportsbooks are fine running deposit matches, insured bets to get people in the door. And it's the same thing with daily promos. So basically every sportsbook, Rebet, FanDuel, they'll run promos almost every single day of the week. And some of these promos are super lucrative. So for example, FanDuel Sportsbook today had a 30% profit boost on the MLB. So basically, if you have something that's a plus 100 bet, what you can do is you can add the profit boost and now you're getting plus 130. Most of these promos, have a max bet size of $10, $25, $50. But with the profit boost, a lot of times you can kind of leg into arbitrage bets. So for example, this MLB bet was already arbitrage between BetMGM and FanDuel. You could bet on FanDuel on this guy to hit a home run. On MGM, you could take him to not hit a home run and guarantee a small little profit. FanDuel had a max bet size of $25 for this promo. But once you add in the 30% profit boost, the odds on FanDuel are going up from plus 400 to plus 520, so this arbitrage bet is even juicier. So what you could do is you could either just take, Cody Clemens to go yard at plus 520 and just run that as a positive EV bet if you want to start getting your feet wet in EV betting, which is finding line discrepancies in the market and taking advantage of the profitable side. Or what you could do is add the profit boost on FanDuel, plus 400 to plus 520, max bet size of $25, and then just hedge on MGM, take his under at minus 375 for a little arbitrage bet that would make you 763 risk-free profit. Again, 763 doesn't sound like a lot, but literally to place this arbitrage bet, it's like 3 button clicks. You hit claim promo, you hit the bet button on OddsJam for MGM FanDuel, you follow the arbitrage calculator. The second the game ends, just a few hours later, you made 763 risk-free profit, literally just from clicking a few buttons. It's the easiest money you'll ever make are these promos. So arbitrage and promos is where I would go to next as I continued to build my bankroll. And then, for some people, that's all they ever do. So I actually saw a review about OddsJam on social media where one guy says, I only arbitrage bet and I'm never gonna EV bet. I know myself, I know I'd be checking the score constantly and I just don't wanna do that. And I mean, that's totally reasonable, right? You should know yourself. If you start getting into positive EV betting, which basically means finding line discrepancies, positive ROI bets in the market. That's the main betting strategy I personally use nowadays. Once I was up like $50,000 profit sports betting from arbitrage and sign-up bonuses, I started to take EV betting very seriously, but you should also know yourself, right? Like if you know for a fact that if you have EV bets on, $400 bet on a guy to hit a home run, and you're gonna be constantly checking the score and you're gonna be mad on days you lose money, just stick with arbitrage betting. I mean, I know a ton of people who only arbitrage bet. They don't want any risk whatsoever. They solely want to guarantee themselves risk-free profits. They don't want to get into EV betting, and that's totally reasonable. With EV betting, you're gonna have swings, you're gonna have variance, you're placing positive ROI bets, but you're still gonna have losing days. You're gonna go on losing streaks and have variance. So even in September of 2024, which was my personal best month sports betting ever, I made over $70,000. There were still days I was down over 6K. So if being down a ton of money is gonna affect your mood and make you miserable, then you probably shouldn't EV bet, right? Like, pretty simple, just stick to arbitrage, making risk-free money, do it as a side hustle, and you'll have a great life. Or if you like gambling, if you like having sweats on, you can get into positive EV betting, which in my opinion has more variance than arbitrage, but is by far the most profitable sports betting strategy. Once you're at $20,000 or maybe even $30,000, then you can decide, right? Do you want to start positive EV betting, taking risk? You're gonna have losing days, but over the course of the long run, you're gonna make money. Kind of like a weighted coin, right? If there's a coin that's 55% to show up on heads, obviously if you're betting on that coin, you're gonna pick heads. You know for a fact that coin is weighted to show up on heads. It's gonna show up on heads more than tails long-term over the course of the long run. But there's still gonna be times where tails shows up 5 times in a row. Tails has a 45% chance of popping up, right? So if you're open to variance and you're fine with having downswings and big upswings and it doesn't affect your mood, whatever, then I would get into positive EV betting because again, in my opinion, that is by far the most profitable sports betting strategy for sports bettors to use. The only downside versus arbitrage is, once again, you're gonna have variance, you're gonna have losing days. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like the video, comment any questions, and also other video ideas. I'm always looking for new videos I can do about sports betting. So any other video ideas you have for me, I'm open to hearing all of them. I love making sports betting content. Comment them below. But yeah, thanks so much for your time.